Yvette Gay gives up control of her life when she falls hard for a duplicitous married man.
While he was growing this family with his mistress, Renwick was having children with his wife.
The daily lives of these people was unbelievable. Yvette was trying to please Renwick in every way.
And when Renwick goes into a murderous rage, Yvette will do anything to keep the peace.
He told Yvette to grab the guns and load up the car.
She was willing to do pretty much whatever it took, even if it meant that some lives were going to be lost.
Beautiful. And later, in the prairie state of Illinois, Vashon Mills rushes into a relationship with a charming hothead.
This is a man who told her that if anybody ever got in between them, he would kill them.
And when she tries to tame her man,
I'm tired of you lying to me. Who are you talking to?
Sorry.
I'm tired of you.
Vashon finds herself pulled into a world of madness and mayhem.
She knew they didn't get along, but she never thought he would take it this far.
He dragged the body by the belt and started the fire.
She would do basically anything for him, including cover up a grotesque and horrific crime.
I asked him why do that.
Yvette Gay is born into a chaotic home life in rural Washington, North Carolina.
Yvette didn't really grow up in a very nurturing, loving, and kind environment. Her father had health issues that he was dealing with. He wasn't able to work.
She had a mother who was diagnosed as a paranoid schizophrenic. She spent some time helping care for the family at times. She was one of 6 children.
There was no love in that home.
Growing up in a very chaotic household certainly can cause a lot of psychological dysfunction, but one learns that they can survive by just going along to get along.
Amid all the chaos and heartache of home, Yvette still has one person she can always count on, her twin sister, Doris.
They both had learning disabilities, but Doris had more proficiency than Yvette. And that made her protective. And their bond was not as equals necessarily, but as Doris in the role of the protector.
In spite of their learning curve, the duo takes life by the horns.
Yvette and Doris finished high school and got jobs in a crab factory where she and her sister worked together, but they brought their paychecks home to the family.
By the time she's 21, Yvette is tired of taking care of her family. She has her own womanly needs and wants a man to satisfy them.
Come meet my friend Renwick.
And just down the road is 22-year-old Renwick Gibbs, who sells candy bars out of his car. Despite his juvenile occupation, he's all man when it comes to attracting the attention of a woman.
It was casual. She wasn't intending for that to go anywhere. And of course, Renwick and Yvette, they just took that to a whole nother level.
Yeah, so if you don't mind, I can maybe show you something.
Yeah, go ahead.
So it's with this right here, right?
Okay.
Renwick is a newlywed. He's married to a woman named Anne. But he doesn't let things like his marital status get in the way of pursuing the young twin.
Yvette knew that Renwick was married. It was just 2 weeks after Anne and Renwick got married that Yvette became involved with him.
Oh, okay.
Pop it down. Yeah, that's this.
Renwick turns on the charm with Yvette, and she's immediately drawn in.
But be honest with you, I just think you're just beautiful.
Renwick was the first man that Yvette had ever known to pay attention to her. And this is seductive. This is very often mistaken as love.
But within the first month of their relationship, Yvette's sunny skies turn to clouds when she realizes not only is she Renwick's new mistress, but his latest victim.
Renwick threatened Yvette on a regular basis. He was physically abusive of her.
He was an angry man. He was apt to always be a ticking time bomb.
When you see someone that is as angry and controlling and manipulative as Renwick, it's quite possible that as a youngster, perhaps he was abused himself and therefore becomes a very abusive person. That's all he knows.
Despite the abuse, Yvette chooses to stay with him, and in just a few short months, Renwick convinces her to move in together, in a house 5 minutes down the road from where she grew up. Almost immediately, Renwick takes complete control of Yvette's life.
From what she ate, to where she lived, to taking her paycheck, Yvette thought that his controlling behavior equated into caring and building a relationship.
Yvette's twin sister, Doris, has never known a life without her, so she follows Yvette to her new home with Renwick.
Renwick was physically, sexually involved with Yvette. Doris was in the house as a support to her twin sister, but we don't know whether Renwick was sexually involved with Doris.
Meanwhile, Renwick still hasn't left his wife Anne and splits his time between the home he keeps with her and the one he shares with Yvette and Doris.
Doris stayed just to take care of her sister, knowing that he was extremely dangerous.
Renwick gets his money's worth out of his working women. Every penny they make goes right into his pockets.
Yvette, Doris, and Anne brought their checks home to Renwick. I consider him a pimp because he took money from these women that he didn't earn.
And he manages to keep all of them in fear of his violent temper.
His wife, Anne, and Yvette, and Doris knew that if they did not do what he said, that somebody or something was going to happen and it was not going to be good.
In the first year of their relationship, Yvette becomes pregnant with Renwick's baby. And any hopes she might have had to get out are dashed.
Yvette had a belief once she found out she was pregnant that she had to stay with Renwick in order for her child to be taken care of. She felt this was the card she was dealt.
Meanwhile, Renwick is busy spreading his seed. Yvette isn't the only one having a baby. Within the first 2 years of the affair, his wife Anne is also having children.
That increased the dependency. This compound of dysfunction continues to grow as Renwick is having children with Anne while he's having children with Yvette.
And you expect me to come home? Huh? You expect me to come here?
And Renwick's growing family does nothing to curb his violent streak.
He was grossly abusive, and if he was mad at one woman, he would take it out on the other one.
Yvette saw the dark side of Renwick, but she had not seen what was to come.
In the battle for her man, Yvette will find a dark side of her own.
The moment she got in bed with a married man, she gave up control of her life.
Yvette decided that she would do whatever she had to do to be with this man. And she went down the darkest path possible to prove it.
In Washington, North Carolina, 24-year-old Yvette Gay is in an abusive relationship with the manipulative and married Renwick Gibbs. Renwick constantly uses his violent rage to terrorize the families he's created with both his mistress Yvette and wife Anne.
I said, look at it.
He would hit them. He would threaten harm to the children.
Renwick fed off of the power of being controlling, being abusive, manipulating them. He was a king in his castle. They were the serfs, and he was getting high off of that.
After 5 grueling years of abuse and infidelity, Anne finally takes off with the kids and leaves Renwick.
Anne decided she'd had enough. Despite his best efforts, she wasn't having it.
Anne moves back in with her parents, and Renwick feels his world start to unravel, and he resorts to a desperate measure.
Renwick kidnapped Anne's family's dog.
Said, come here. Come here. Huh?
And while Yvette and Doris watched, he tried to strangle it, he shot at it, but fortunately the dog got away. So when the dog got away, he turned the gun on Yvette and Doris.
the gun down, please. No, no, put the gun down.
Yvette begged him to lower the gun. He did, but he always used these heartless scare tactics to keep her under control.
Yvette and Doris are safe, for now, but Renwick's rage is still boiling. Later that night, he devises a new plan to make his wayward wife pay, and he commands Yvette and Doris help him.
This is gonna happen. Are you ready to do this?
No.
Renwick told Yvette and Doris that he was going to kill Anne, and he told them that they were going to help him.
Go get the bullets. Go get the bullets.
Yvette and Doris stayed in this very abusive relationship with Renwick because he had control over them. He had power over them.
And you,
Yvette begs Renwick not to make her do it.
I need you to buck up, okay?
Yvette had a moment where she wanted to get out of this, but Renwick told her she had no choice.
I want you to see firsthand what's gonna happen to someone who disobeys and disrespects me. Where those bullets at? Where those bullets? Come on, let's go.
Nothing can stop Renwick from executing his murderous plan.
He told Yvette to grab the guns and load up the car.
Renwick and Yvette gear up to pay an early morning visit to Anne.
I said,
Doris is ordered to stay behind.
stay right there.
Yvette stashes the weapons in the car, and she and Renwick make the 10-minute drive through the dark roads of Washington, North Carolina, to Anne's family home.
They parked on the side of the road, figuring that they would be able to use the darkness and the quietness to slowly work themselves through the grass and come up to the house without being seen.
Yvette and Renwick creep up to Anne's parents' house. Once there, Renwick bursts through the front door.
He was met by Anne's mother and teenage sister and brother. That night, Anne wasn't at her parents' home. She was working the graveyard shift at the factory.
That's when Yvette realizes Renwick's plan has nothing to do with killing Anne.
His goal was to make her suffer, and she did. Everyone did.
Renwick orders Yvette to herd the family into a back room.
Yvette ushered the family into another small bedroom at gunpoint.
Get on the phone.
Shut your mouth. All right, so shut up. Just shut up. Doing too much talking right now. Keep your gun on him. Just shut your mouth. Just shut your mouth.
With the family on their knees and gagged, Renwick makes the final call.
Shoot him.
He told Yvette to execute them, to fire at each one of them and kill them.
Yvette placed her loyalty in the hands of somebody that she shouldn't have. She paid the price.
And later in Illinois, Vashon Mills falls for a charming coworker that turns her world upside down.
She got caught up in his charm, but when he was angry, he revealed a very explosive side to her.
Lying to me, who are you talking to?
And the consequence was a destructive relationship that ended up in the death of an innocent victim.
After 5 years of bouncing between wife Anne and mistress Yvette in Washington, North Carolina, Renwick Gibbs feels his tightly controlled world fall apart when Anne walks out on him. Determined to make her pay, Renwick takes her family hostage with the reluctant help of his other woman, Yvette Gay.
Yvette had seen the dark side of Renwick, but she had not seen how low and how evil he would become.
We're gonna shut you up right now. That's what we're gonna do.
He had dominance and control on his mind.
Shut your mouth.
The family begs Yvette and Renwick for mercy.
Anne's mother asked him why, and Renwick said that he was tired of them coming in between he and Anne. He was tired of them having control in her life, and he said he couldn't take it anymore.
With the family on their knees and gagged, Renwick is ready to take things to the next level.
Shoot them.
He orders Yvette to kill them all.
Shoot them.
Yvette followed Renwick's commands because she felt there was no other option for her. She was in fear for her life, but she also needed to support the father of her children.
I want you to go ahead and shoot them. Shoot them. Right now.
No, I can't shoot them. I can't.
Shoot them right now.
No.
For the first time in her 5 years with Renwick, Yvette says no to him.
She drew the line when it came actually taking another human being's life.
Give me the gun. Go back.
Yvette's disobedience only fuels Renwick's resolve.
Do it myself.
He grabbed a rifle and pointed it at each one of the victims at point-blank range. Yvette was standing in the hallway, and she saw them get executed one by one.
Yvette was in shock and disbelief that Renwick could actually pull the trigger and kill someone in cold blood.
With the revenge plot now finished, Renwick and Yvette leave without looking back.
In the end, the mission was accomplished. Yvette wasn't punished. She was able to assert herself, and she still had her man.
A few hours later, Anne's father comes home to the brutal scene. Anne is notified at work about the murder of her mother, sister, and brother. She knows there's only one person callous and cruel enough to destroy her world: her husband, Renwick Gibbs.
Anne had a very long history with Renwick. This was the master abuser. So in knowing his pattern and how horrendous he could be, she knew that there was a connection here, that there was a reason that he may have been the person to do this to her family.
Despite years of loyalty to Renwick, when police arrive at the twins' home 2 days later, they surprisingly turn him in and tell police everything.
Yvette and Doris, at the end of the day, knew what Renwick did was wrong. They didn't want this on their conscience. They didn't want to be associated with this. They didn't want to be accomplices to these horrific murders. So in their minds and their hearts, they had no choice but to turn Renwick in to the authorities.
It's game over for Renwick, as he and the twins are escorted from the house in cuffs. Yvette Gay is convicted of first-degree murder, 1 count of conspiracy to commit murder, and burglary. 3 months later, Renwick Gibbs meets the same fate. They are both sentenced to death.
I think most people would empathize with Yvette. This is a woman who had been a victim of domestic violence under Renwick for a very, very long time. She had her coming home to Jesus moment and realized that it was time to turn her life around.
Yvette has lost her freedom, but in some ways she gained it.
And Yvette's twin sister, Doris Gay, is given 10 years for her involvement as a co-conspirator. According to her lawyers, Yvette is still traumatized by her part in the brutal killings and regrets her actions.
Yvette did seem remorseful. She hated that she was involved in something that took this family's life. She was just doing what she was told to do.
There are a lot of people who find themselves in these situations for various reasons, and the dominance, the domestic violence that can go on in many different ways is a real horror.
For Yvette, seeing that the man that she loves is capable of perpetrating such a heinous crime broke that spell of love that she had for him.
In the end, Yvette sacrificed her life to please her man.
In Yvette's case, she chose badly. She chose to commit a absolutely horrible act because she was in love.
Yvette Gay's devotion cost 3 innocent lives and guarantees her own death behind bars. In the prairie state of Illinois, Vashon Mills will also learn that blindly following her impulsive man can have dire consequences. In the inner city of Indianapolis, 19-year-old Vashon Mills is on the road to success.
Vashon had a high school education. She then got a nurse's aide certificate and was enrolling in nursing school.
She'd be able to take care of herself, take care of other people, and she was truly on a path to success.
And it looks like she won't have to walk that path alone. When shortly after graduation, Vashon falls in love with a man who has the future on his mind.
She met a man and they got married. He was a nice guy, earned a solid living, and he was in the military.
But military life keeps him away from Vashon more than she'd like. 4 years and 2 daughters later, they divorce.
There was no significant father figure for her. That created a void in her emotionally, which resulted in her neediness towards men.
Vashon and the girls move out on their own. And love quickly finds her again when she meets 23-year-old co-worker Rayshawn Johnson.
Vashon was working at a health care facility, and that's where she had met Rayshawn Johnson.
Vashon. Oh, okay. I'm Rayshawn.
With names so similar, a match between Vashon and Rayshawn seems like fate. And after a few days of flirting, Vashon falls for him. Hard.
They bonded over the fact that they had both recently been divorced. He was accepting of her children, and that brought a lot of comfort.
But Vashon's attraction may burn her in the end.
Vashon, you see the way he treats me?
What did you do?
She was under his spell, so she'd pretty much do whatever he asked.
It was a crime of passion. It was one panicked act after another, resulting in a very messy crime.
Newly divorced nursing aide Vashon Mills is falling hard for her coworker Rayshawn Johnson in the inner city of Indianapolis, Indiana.
He was charming, he listened to her. Sparks were flying, and Vashon was definitely getting pulled in.
Love is enchanting, especially for Vashon, and along came Rashawn, who told her everything that she needed to hear, who wanted to be that ear for her, who really wanted to listen to her.
The two nursing aides get serious quick, and it isn't long before Rayshawn is visiting Vashon's apartment on a daily basis.
Rayshawn met Vashon's 2 girls and quickly incorporated them into his life.
Thank you.
Rayshawn spends any time and money he has trying to win over Vashon and the girls. But 3 weeks into the relationship, their fresh love is already starting to rot when Rayshawn's jealous side takes over.
He did not allow her to talk to any male friends. He kept her away from them. He became increasingly more possessive and controlling of Vashon.
Vashon may have thought that what Rashawn was doing was just trying to protect her, try to protect the relationship. But the reality was that Rayshawn was beginning to isolate her.
Who are you talking to?
I was talking to my friend.
Let me see your phone.
And Rayshawn's jealousy goes to the extreme, pulling Vashon and the girls completely into his world.
I'm tired of you lying to me. Who are you talking to?
I'm not lying.
Who are you talking to?
He made it absolutely clear to her that he didn't want anybody to come between them. He told Vashon that if anybody ever tried to come between them, he would kill them.
Sorry.
I'm tired of you.
Ignoring the warning signs of Rayshawn's irrational behavior, Vashon not only stays with him, she upends her world to be in his life.
About 6 months into their relationship, Rayshawn invited Vashon to move in with him and his mother, which was in Bloomington, about 3 hours away from her family.
Vashon doesn't give the disruption a second thought.
She was moving away from her job. She was moving away from her support system, which was her family, and she now had to enroll her kids in different schools. She'd be completely under the care and control of Rayshawn and his mother.
The living conditions in Rayshawn's mother's housing project apartment are cramped, but Vashon sucks it up until the two can get on their feet. Rayshawn immediately finds work at a customer service company, and Vashon looks for a job so she can re-enroll in nursing school. But things are about to change.
One night, Vashawn and Vashon went to bingo night, and when they got there, Vashon noticed an elderly man at the bingo game.
74-year-old Oakley Mitchell is a retired veteran with a kind soul, a giving heart, and a listening ear.
Oakley was drawn to Vashon, and by the end of the night, she pretty much had told him her whole life story.
Normally, Rashawn would be insanely jealous of Vashon talking to anyone else, especially another guy. But Oakley was a senior citizen, much older individual, and therefore was very non-threatening. Just a good old friendly soul.
I've got a big house. I've got plenty of space. You and your boyfriend want to come by, I can make you a pretty good deal.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, problem.
Oakley feels for Vashon's cramped living situation, and he could use an extra hand or two at home.
Oakley lived on a huge farm, and because he was in a wheelchair, he couldn't take care of himself. So he'd often invite young people to come live on his farm in exchange for helping him out. Vashon explained to Oakley that she had a boyfriend and that she would have to ask and bring him. But he was open to it.
Yeah, it was nice meeting you.
Okay, here now, you behave. Bye-bye.
2 weeks after meeting Oakley, Rayshawn, Vashon, and the girls move in. And Vashon seems to be the answer to Oakley's prayers.
She cleaned the house for him, she'd drive him around, she'd even help him put on his pajamas at night.
But just days after moving to the spacious farm, Rayshawn's already feeling crowded out.
From the time they moved onto the farm, Rayshawn was no longer in control. He was not the man of the house because it wasn't his house. He wasn't providing for her, Oakley was, and that did not sit well with Rayshawn.
Hey, rent's due.
Rayshawn and Oakley were at each other's throats around the clock.
She knew they didn't get along, but she never thought he would take it this far.
I asked him, why would you do that?
2 weeks after meeting Oakley Mitchell, Vashon Mills, boyfriend Rayshawn Johnson, and her 2 little girls moved to Oakley's farm in Secor, Illinois.
Life on the farm was good. Vashon had more space, the girls could run around. Oakley had great company.
Vashon was very fond of Oakley. She treated him like a grandfather. He didn't have any grandchildren of his own, so he enjoyed having Vashon and the children around.
But the budding friendship doesn't sit well with Rayshawn.
Oakley was now getting attention from Vashon. The more the relationship with Vashon and Oakley increased and they became closer, the more antagonized and more resentful and more jealous that Rayshawn became.
Hey, rent's due.
And Oakley makes it clear that the feeling is mutual.
Oakley was frustrated with the way Rayshawn treated Vashon and her children, talked down to them. Oakley did not care for that and did not want that to happen in his home.
Being in the same room as that guy. You spend more time with him than me. I'm your boyfriend.
Oakley doesn't fear Rayshawn like Vashon does, and he uses every chance he can to prove it.
Hey, look, you need to stay out. It's none of your business.
It is my business. It's my house, my business. If you're gonna act like an animal, I want you to just sleep out back.
He's sometimes told him he had to go sleep outside or stay outside of the house, and that would create all kinds of conflict.
Now get going.
Keeping Rayshawn in check becomes a daily battle for Vashon.
For Vashon, this was a real conflict in that she really depended on Oakley and this very stabilizing situation. But yet at the same time, she was still in love with Rayshawn, who did things much different, maybe the opposite of Oakley. So what should have been a very even situation became very destabilizing because of this constant conflict in that area.
This is a man who told her that if anybody ever got in between them, he would kill them. And he did not like where he thought her relationship with Oakley was headed.
3 weeks after moving in, one hot summer night in August, the conflict between the 2 men takes a deadly turn.
Vashon went upstairs to check on the girls, who were sleeping. She then came back downstairs to change Oakley into his pajamas, but she found him instead on his computer, So she went on into the bathroom.
But Rayshawn has finally reached his breaking point with Oakley.
Look, I'm gonna need you to stand here. What? Just stand here.
He closed the bathroom door, slammed it behind him, and left.
There is an eerie silence. And then 5 gunshots ring out.
Vashon later exited the bathroom and saw Rayshawn in the hallway pacing back and forth with the handgun.
She's seen and known that he carried that gun, but she'd never seen him use it.
In Oakley's bedroom, Vashon makes a grisly discovery.
She discovered Oakley slumped over his computer, and he had been shot.
Oakley is dead, and Vashon is in a state of shock.
She knew they didn't get along, but she never thought he would take it this far.
She ran upstairs to check on the girls, and at some point, Rayshawn snapped out of his daze and started yelling for her to come back downstairs.
Vashon does as she's told.
When Vashon got back downstairs, Rayshawn wanted her to help him clean up the scene.
She was faced with the decision to either turn him in or help him cover it up.
After stewing for weeks, Vashon Mills' boyfriend, Rayshawn Johnson, kills their elderly landlord, Oakley Mitchell, in a jealous rage. A few minutes after shooting Oakley, Rayshawn asks Vashon to help him clean up the crime scene.
She had to make a decision whether she was going to help him cover it up or not.
The choice Vashon makes is to stand by the man she loves.
She immediately began picking up shell casings.
As night turns to day, Rayshawn sets a large fire to dispose of the body.
He dragged the body by the belt and placed it on the burn pile.
But before he got to the burn pile, he pulled Oakley's wallet out of Oakley's pocket and gave it to Vashon.
That old saying, no good deed goes unpunished, is really true here. Because here you have Oakley, who just wanted to really help these people out. He didn't have to extend his home, but he did it. And so what does he get in return? He gets murdered.
With the fire still burning, the couple flees the farm.
They grabbed the kids and went to Bloomington to check into a hotel. Upon getting to Bloomington, they stopped at an ATM, withdrew $400 from Oakley's account.
Vashon is really torn here because on the one hand, she's really afraid that she might get caught up in this murder with her boyfriend. But on the other hand, she might have to turn against him and let him take the fall by himself. He had been there for her in her mind, and she felt that she had to be there for him till the bitter end.
The next morning, Vashon and Rayshawn return to the farm to check on the damage.
They discovered that Oakley's body was only partially consumed. Rashawn took the grotesque remains, threw them into the trunk of one of Oakley's cars, and drove to a bridge close by.
Determined to rid himself of Oakley once and for all, Rayshawn tosses his body over the bridge, while Vashon looks on.
Oakley's body didn't land in the water, so Rayshawn had to run down and push his body into the water.
Then the couple heads off to spend Oakley's money as if nothing's happened.
Vashon took Rayshawn to work, and then her and her 2 girls went shopping and bought some clothes, and she took her children to have their nails done.
Vashon has made the choice to cover for Rayshawn, and she's not turning back now.
During all of this time, Vashon had an opportunity to get away, to tell someone to put an end to this horrible nightmare.
But she doesn't. Instead, at the end of his shift, Vashon collects Rayshawn from work.
They headed back towards Indianapolis to her grandmother's house.
On the way, Vashon and Rayshawn learn some startling news.
They saw a news article where a body had been found in the Mackinac River where they had dumped Oakley's body. The body was discovered by a male who had went down to the Mackinac River to fish that morning.
The guilt of Oakley's murder begins to weigh on Vashon, and when they arrive at her grandmother's house, she finally breaks her silence.
Rashawn killed Oakley.
What? Did you say he killed someone?
Vashon told her grandmother everything. The grandmother then asked,
What do you mean you had to do it?
Had to, Grandma. He was disrespecting us, trying to come between us.
Rayshon may have been a person who had a lot of psychological issues growing up and therefore always felt that he was disrespected and reacted with extreme anger and rage. And in some ways, Oakley may have pressed some of those hot buttons from the past.
After the confession, Vashon's grandmother gets Rashawn out of the house so she can figure out how to help clear Vashon's name.
Vashon's grandmother took Rashawn to a family friend's home, left him there, and then contacted a family friend who was a detective.
The detective gets in touch with local police, and Vashon tells them where they can find Rashawn.
police came to a home where Rashawn had been staying and found him hiding in a closet. And that is where they arrested him for the murder of Oakley Mitchell.
Later that day, Vashon is also taken into custody.
Vashon pinned the entire murder on Rashawn.
The whole time he had the gun, I was just scared. I was scared of him. I said, Ray, I asked him, why would you do that? That man was a good man. That man was a good man.
But Rashawn also plays the blame game.
She told me you're driving there. Okay, who told me that? Shut up. Okay.
He said that Vashon requested that he kill Oakley because Oakley had made unwanted sexual advances towards her, and that he only complied out of love for Vashon.
Rather than taking their chances in front of a jury, both Vashon and Rashawn make deals with prosecutors.
Rashawn pled guilty to first-degree murder and was sentenced to 50 years in prison. Vashon pleaded guilty to concealment of a homicide and mutilation of a body and received an 18-year sentence in prison.
In many ways, I think Vashon had plenty of opportunities to get out of this very abusive and crazy relationship with Rashawn. And so when there were the detours ahead, she ignored each and every one of them. And each time she did that, she was further and further in and just couldn't pull herself out.
In the end, Vashon's dependence on her man claims a life and ruins her own.
That man was a good man.
Vashon risked a lot by helping Rashawn with the murder and the concealment. She has not seen her children. She basically lost everything.
Vashon blamed herself for Oakley's murder. If she had never brought Rashawn into his house, he'd still be alive and playing bingo today.
At the sentencing hearing, Vashon,
20-year-old Deborah Brown breaks out of her shell when she meets a smooth-talking charmer on the streets of Waukegan, Illinois.
She was hoping to be loved and willing to make such a huge sacrifice for that.
But when her man's twisted perversion sent him running from police, Deborah willingly tags along and helps bring his monstrous fantasies to life.
The horror and the trail of terror that they left behind left a cloud over communities.
Alton and Deborah were as evil as any couple could be.
And later, in Wilmington, Delaware, 17-year-old Shakira Wanham thinks her days of being used and abused are over when she meets handsome bachelor Stephen Martin.
He would treat her like a queen. She wanted it to last.
Only to find herself pulled into a world more dangerous than she could ever imagine.
He got her high and put a gun in her purse, and he said, I need money.
She closed her eyes, and next thing you know, the gun was going off because she wanted to hold on to him.
Growing up in the quiet suburbs of Waukegan, Illinois, young Deborah Brown certainly didn't seem marked for notoriety.
What we know about Deborah is that she was a very shy young woman growing up. Her mom characterized her as a good girl.
2 years removed from high school, the sweet and unassuming Deborah still lives at home, along with her 10 siblings.
This was a very young woman who came from a very large family, a lot of kids. And when you have so many siblings, it's just so easy to get lost in the sauce.
But Deborah's humdrum world is spun upside down one fall day when she meets neighborhood ladies' man, Alton Coleman.
Alton Coleman was charming. He was very easy to talk to. He could carry on a conversation, and people just trusted him.
Deborah is instantly taken with Alton's charismatic personality. The self-described professional poker player seems to hypnotize her.
I think she's like any other young woman who meets a young man and who sees in him what she thinks that she's been wanting all her life.
Romance quickly blossoms between the two, and after a few weeks of dating, Alton asks Deborah to live with him in the house he shares with his grandmother. But Alton's offer comes with an interesting string attached, a job in the home that keeps her removed from the outside world.
She was paid $25 a month to basically be a nurse's aide to Alton's grandmother.
A place in Alton's life is worth its weight in gold.
She would cook, clean, and do chores around the house.
It gave her a sense of belonging, and I think that's why Deborah helped him.
This is probably the first person that she felt actually needed her.
For the next few months, Deborah lives a charmed life under Alton's spell. Until one day when Alton receives a court summons and reveals to Deborah a shocking secret.
Alton, hey, baby, what is this?
He was awaiting trial on a sexual assault of a 14-year-old girl.
There were 6 different sexual violent offenses on record that Alton was engaged in prior to her meeting him.
Don't worry about it, we good.
It was well known in the neighborhood that Alton grew up that his mother was a prostitute, and she would often engage in sex with her Johns in front of this young boy.
Despite Alton's predatory past, Deborah dutifully stands by her man when he asks her to accompany him to court the following week.
Deborah knew that he was going to court on a rape charge. It would be the normal thing to do if the man that you loved had committed rapes of very young girls, that you would leave. But in Deborah's case, she did not.
The night before his scheduled court appearance, Alton is nowhere to be found. And when Alton finally shows up the next morning,
He told her he had done something wrong that night.
She asked him what it was, and he wouldn't tell her.
after dropping the subject, an hour later, Deborah stands by Alton as he makes a pretrial plea of not guilty to the rape charge.
It definitely was not enough to make her walk away.
Alton returns home with Deborah only to vanish once again. Left to care for his grandmother, Deborah gets a surprise visit. Law enforcement are looking for Alton Coleman, their prime suspect in the disappearance of 9-year-old Vernita Wheat. 6 weeks earlier, Alton had befriended the young girl's mother, Adrian, in nearby Kenosha.
He was riding a bicycle through the alley. He smiled at her. They struck up a conversation. And over the next month, he would come from Waukegan to Kenosha to visit her.
It appears that having a home life with Deborah hasn't stopped Alton from playing the field.
Vernita's mother was single. He was helpful. He ran errands for him, and he was just generally being nice to her and Vernita.
He used an alias and gained her trust by starting to date her. She believed that it was okay for Vernita to be with him and felt safe with that.
Then, 6 weeks later, on the night before his court date, Alton asked Adrian if he could take little Vernita out for some fun.
We're gonna have some fun.
She had no idea he had a history of sexual violence against children.
She gave Alton permission to take Vernita to a carnival, and she never came home.
Less than 24 hours after Vernita is reported missing, her mother goes to the police station in Waukegan to look at photos of known sex offenders. She immediately picks out Alton's mugshot from the lineup.
I think we all feared that she had been killed.
Later that morning, investigators show up at Deborah's door.
She provided us a statement that Alton had told her he had done something wrong.
She was candid, and she openly talked about it.
Believing they've gotten all they can from Deborah, the authorities leave,
Appreciate your cooperation.
with the promise of returning to talk to her more at a later date.
Thank you.
But law enforcement will never get that chance, because Alton will soon return to pick up something valuable he left behind. Deborah.
A woman with her wits about her would say, oh my goodness, there's something wrong here, and leave. But in her case, she still hoped that she would have a happy life with him.
As she follows Alton in what she hopes will be a path to a new life together, Deborah will prove the lengths that she's willing to go for her man.
There's no way that she could imagine what he was capable of and what she was capable of.
She miles north of Chicago, in the town of Waukegan, Illinois. 20-year-old Deborah Brown has stood by her man of 10 months, 28-year-old sexual predator, Alton Coleman.
When he met Deborah, he was waiting trial on a sexual assault of a 14-year-old girl.
There was something in Alton that she connected with that made her decide that it was worth being with him.
But after being named the prime suspect in the disappearance of 9-year-old Vernita Wheat, Alton goes on the run. Less than 48 hours after taking off, Alton calls Deborah.
Hey, babe.
He has stolen a car and is about to leave town.
You what?
And he wants Deborah to go with him.
Alton was able to convince Deborah that he needed her to get away from the police. I think it was easier for Alton to escape capture by having a female with him.
She compartmentalizes his very dangerous character so that she can continue to love him and be with him.
The two hit the road and head south, trying to keep one step ahead of the law.
She had not traveled much or been out of her local area. But as long as she had him, I think she was okay with being in a new place.
But law enforcement is hot on their trail.
This became a nationwide manhunt, even to the point that the FBI placed Alton on a special most wanted list.
After a week on the run, the fugitive couple abandons their stolen vehicle in Gary, Indiana, 72 miles south of Waukegan. But they can't outrun Alton's twisted compulsion when he sees two little girls walking alone.
Alton asked Deborah to help him do something wrong. And then he told her to tell the little girls that she had some clothes for them.
Having Deborah approach them first reduced the level of suspicion for the girls.
Deborah approaches 7-year-old Tamika and 9-year-old Annie.
Deborah said to the little girls, I have some clothes for you. Would you like them? And they said yes. And so then they walked a little ways toward a park. And then all of a sudden, Alton grabbed the one little girl, tore her clothes off, and told Deborah to hold the other little girl.
Deborah follows her man's orders.
With the fabric from the shirt, they created ties so that they can gag the girls and tie the girls up.
Alton and Deborah force the girls to perform unspeakable acts on them before savagely assaulting the 9-year-old Annie.
Alton raped Annie, strangled her, and left her there. And then he asked Deborah to hold the feet of the little girl. Then he strangled her too. And then they just walked away.
After eagerly obeying her man's every command, Deborah has crossed an unforgivable line. She has become a sexual predator and child killer.
The fact that Deborah helped hold their legs down while he did this says to me that at this point she had completely bought into him. Alton was not holding a gun to Deborah's head.
It is a true partnership. And now, finally, she can say she is a special person. She stands out. And she is an equal to this man who she really loves.
Miraculously, Annie survives the brutal assault and is found by a passerby later that day. She directs him to 7-year-old Tamika's body. By now, every law enforcement agency in Indiana is aware of the fugitive couple. When authorities show Annie their photos, she is able to identify Alton from his mugshot. Meanwhile, Deborah and Alton are desperate to stay one step ahead of the law.
They were on the run, and they needed money, they needed transportation.
One day after their attack on the little girls, Deborah and Alton are still in Gary, looking for a vehicle to steal to get them out of the city. That's when they spot 25-year-old Donna Williams by her car.
We apologize. The thing is, my man...
Alton and Deborah befriended Donna under the guise of wanting to be closer to God, and they used Donna's faith to lure her.
Excited to have made new friends, Donna offers Deborah and Alton a ride to a church function. Once in the car, Alton and Deborah strike. Deborah takes control of the wheel, allowing Alton to ruthlessly force himself on Donna.
Hurry up!
The longer this killing spree goes on, the more invincible Deborah and Alton are feeling. And as part of that, the more addicted they are to this very horrific behavior.
After Alton rapes her, he wraps his hands around Donna's neck and watches as the life is suffocated out of her.
The ability to be even more gruesome and violent translates into excitement. It translates into kind of getting off on what she was doing.
As they make their way out of town in Donna's car, the pair dump her lifeless body near an abandoned building. Despite the nationwide manhunt, Deborah and Alton managed to stay under the radar and travel undetected for the next 40 days.
They stole many, many cars along the way. They would always take the license plate off before they abandoned them. So it'd take a while for the police to trace them.
The longer the two are on the loose, the bigger the body count.
I think after they had killed several people that they were enjoying the Bonnie and Clyde type murder spree that they were going on.
For Deborah and Alton, getting involved in these grisly murders and rapes became sort of like the new normal for them. They needed to step up the game in order to feel that satisfaction and pleasure. They needed more of that thrill killing in order to really feel good.
Later that summer in Kenosha, Wisconsin, the devastating fate of 9-year-old Vernita Wheat finally comes to light.
Vernita Wheat's body was discovered in the abandoned building about 3 weeks after we last knew of Alton and Deborah Brown's location.
And in her pocket was the torn ticket for the carnival, identifying it back to the carnival she had attended.
The cause of death was strangulation.
When you have to handle the crime scene of a young child, is probably the worst thing you could ever do as a police officer.
Investigators find Alton's fingerprints on items near Vernita's body. But as evil as Alton was on his own, authorities know now he's even more dangerous with his willing accomplice at his side.
I have to believe that at that time, Deborah was actually enjoying what was happening.
Deborah Brown could have gotten away at any time she wanted to.
But instead, she joins Alton as they ride through a peaceful suburb in Ohio where their savagery sees no bounds.
It was really unimaginable, the level of horror that the two of them were able to inflict.
And later in Wilmington, Delaware, 17-year-old Shakira Wanham puts herself in a deadly situation for the love of an older man.
No, Shakira's intentions was to rob someone. She didn't mean to shoot someone. Shooting a gun was the last thing Shakira ever dreamed of doing.
She was afraid that something would happen to her or her family if she did not do what she was told to do.
Deborah Brown and Alton Coleman are on a rape and murder spree across the Midwest. As eyewitness accounts and mounting evidence put to rest any illusion that Deborah is anything but a willing participant.
Prior to meeting Alton, you see no signal or no indication of any behavior anywhere close to what you see Deborah performing at this point. She was all in, no question about it.
Alton has all of his perverse, murderous, and sexual needs met, while Deborah is able to fill a very special role.
After almost 7 weeks on the run, Deborah and Alton find themselves low on funds as they prowl through a suburb in Ohio when they see a for sale sign for a camper. The owners, 50-year-old Harry Walters, and his wife, 45-year-old Marlene, welcome Deborah and Alton inside.
When they stepped inside the home, the Walters were pretty excited for having a potential buyer. I'm sure they were very hospitable.
Alton and Deborah prepare to pounce.
That's very cool.
Alton asked him about a candlestick holder that was next to the fireplace. Apparently, it was relatively unique. Alton crashed it over Harry's head and hit him several times, knocked him out.
As Alton continues to unleash his rage on Harry, Deborah follows his lead, picks up the candlestick, and uses it to beat Marlene to death.
Physiologically, when we look at what was going on with them, with any kind of addiction, in this case, an addiction to murder, mayhem, and rape, certain neurotransmitters are released, shoot or kill or rape another person. That was good. Do it again.
Marlene is dead. Harry is alive but badly beaten.
Alton and Deborah ransacks the home, takes the jewelry and the car.
Alton and Deborah are on the move. They begin driving north toward Waukegan, Illinois.
They abandoned that car and got on the train. They got off the train in Evanston, Illinois.
Evanston lies just 30 miles south of Waukegan and is where Alton grew up.
This is where all their resources were. They go back to a place that is familiar, that feels like home, in order to build themselves back up, have some level of comfort, and then go back out into the world and create more mayhem.
But what Alton failed to plan is what to do if they were caught. A move that will prove costly.
Alton was crossing the street there in Evanston, and a guy that he went to high school with in Waukegan recognized him and called the local police.
Police are dispatched to the area, but the two are gone. Then they're spotted in a nearby park. Rather than go out guns blazing, Deborah follows Alton's lead as he helplessly throws his hands up.
By the time that they were arrested, that they were just tired. They put up no resistance.
The couple's arrest brings an end to their reign of terror. During their 7-week crime spree across 3 states, Deborah and Alton are suspected of killing 8 people.
The amount of death and destruction that Alton and Deborah left behind in 7 weeks is unbelievable. 8 murders, 7 rapes, 15 individuals that they've either robbed or terrified or injured in some way.
So this is really fascinating when we look back at Deborah's life. Here's a young woman growing up in a family. There's absolutely no history of violence that she's perpetrated in any way. But yet, when she meets Alton, she makes this flip and becomes a serial killer with absolutely no remorse.
But prosecutors choose their cases wisely and only charge the duo with the crimes for which they will be sentenced to death. No other charges are brought against them. In Indiana, both Alton and Deborah are sentenced to death for the murder of 7-year-old Tamika Turks. In Ohio, the couple is sentenced to death for killing Marlene Walters. Through it all, Deborah has Alton's back to the bitter end.
Deborah showed no remorse towards any of the victims. The only person that she cared about was Alton. She testified in the penalty phase of his trial that she had done all the murders and he hadn't done any.
When we see couples involved in crime and they get caught at the end of their spree, quite often they turn on one another. The foundation of that love was not strong to begin with. But Deborah wants to make sure that nothing happens to Alton. And I think this speaks purely of the fact that she loved him more than she loved herself.
Alton is extradited to Illinois, where he is convicted and sentenced to death for the murder of 9-year-old Vernita Wheat. After serving 17 years in prison, Alton Coleman was put to death for his crimes. Willing to take the fall for her man, Deborah Brown took her devotion to the extreme. In Wilmington, Delaware, Shakira Wanham will execute a devious plan to keep her beloved living the high life. Growing up poor in the worst part of the city, Shakira Wanham's childhood was far from idyllic.
Shakira was born when I was 17 and a half. Shakira's father, he wasn't a good provider. I was the one that was working.
He was an alcoholic. He had serious mental health issues. In fact, he was bipolar.
Shakira's father's volatile personality makes her home life extremely unstable.
Shakira's father was a violent man, and he was abusive towards her mother.
When she see that he would put his hands on me, Shakira would try to pick up something and hit him to protect me.
She witnessed abuse all the time when she was a child.
One such event, on New Year's Eve, proves to be a defining moment in 5-year-old Shakira's life.
Shakira's father came in the house after having a hard night of drinking and started arguing with me about something.
The father goes into the kitchen, comes back with a steak knife, and goes after her.
And he stabbed me in the back. Then he pulled it out and came at my heart and then came at my throat. And Shakira was standing right next to me watching everything happen.
Despite a punctured lung, Deneen survives the attack. She returns home 2 days later, but will need the next 8 months to heal. The incident is burned into Shakira's psyche, and it will pave the way for all of her male relationships to come.
When we see a child who's exposed to violence, then that violence becomes part of their lives. Either they choose someone who's very violent in order to live with later on in life, or they perpetrate that violence.
Get off of me!
She was unprepared for what was about to occur.
If it wasn't for love, Shakira would have never committed this act.
At 5 years old, Shakira Wanham witnesses her father brutally attack her mother, Deneen, with a knife. After 8 months of recovery at home, Deneen survives and cuts him out of their life for good. With her dad out of the picture, Shakira blossoms.
She did well in school. She had good grades. She got A's and B's.
Shakira was very smart. She wanted to be an obstetrician or gynecologist. Shakira had a lot of dreams.
But Shakira's dreams are quickly interrupted. Over the next 10 years, she watches helplessly as her mother is abused by a string of men. Shakira starts looking for an escape.
She was 11 years old when she started running away from her house. She would pack her clothes and sneak out at night when her mom was asleep.
She would sneak out windows. She would sneak out fire escapes. She always managed to get out.
Shakira's late-night excursions expose her to a dark world on the streets.
She would meet up with boys. They'd give her drugs and alcohol, and she would have sex with them.
Shakira certainly wasn't able to make rational decisions about life, and certainly she was at risk to these predator type of individuals who saw her as being very vulnerable.
By the time Shakira is 17, she has been living on and off the streets for a number of years and is addicted to drugs. Deneen tries to get her daughter help and sends her to various drug treatment programs.
Shakira spent 3/4 of her life in treatment centers because I was trying to find out what was going on with her. She did succeed in those treatment centers, but when she came home a week later, maybe 2 weeks later, she would do the same thing.
But all of that changes when 23-year-old charmer Stephen Martin sets his sights on Shakira.
Shakira saw Stephen on the street, and somehow they ended up talking.
Within days, they're inseparable. Unlike all other men in her life, Stephen showers her with affection.
She had a good time with him. He treated her like she wanted to be treated.
I think Shakira felt as though she had someone in her life that is finally showing her some attention, and she just gravitated towards it.
Stephen is a well-known drug dealer, but to Shakira, he acts like nothing but a prince. So when he asks her to move in with him just 2 months after they meet, Shakira thinks she's finally found everything she's wanted.
He would run her bath water, fix food for her. She didn't think a guy could treat her that way. And she was going to do everything she could not to let it go.
But that feeling doesn't last. Not long after the two start playing house, Shakira learns that her guardian angel is actually a devil in disguise. All the money Stephen makes from dealing has one purpose: to support his addiction to a street drug called wet.
Wet is a drug concoction where you take a regular cigarette and dip it in PCP. So individuals, sometimes they become very, very violent. At other times, they even become psychotic.
Suddenly, the affection that Shakira has been desperately craving is now coming at a much steeper price than she ever imagined.
He became abusive. There was times that he would ask her to do something, and when she didn't want to or she couldn't, he would start hitting her.
Shakira stayed in this very abusive relationship with Stephen because in many ways, she wanted that old Stephen, the one who made her feel very special. And she held out hope against hope that she could bring that back in him.
She wanted to do everything she possibly could to please this person.
When Shakira met Stephen, she had no idea that she would end up in jail.
17-year-old Shakira Wanham is 4 months into a relationship with 23-year-old Steve Martin, a street hustler who's addicted to drugs.
Stephen, he would beat her up. He would tell her, do this, do that. You know, he would verbally abuse her.
She was afraid that something would happen to her or her family if she did not do what she was told to do.
Stephen's dramatic personality change is bad enough, but things are about to get even worse.
You're gonna learn today. Smoke it. No.
4 months into their relationship, Stephen is high on wet and craving more.
Stephen said, I need money. I need you to rob somebody. Because, you know, you're young. You wouldn't get into as much trouble as I would if I was to do it.
He took the gun that he carried with him all the time and wiped his prints off of it, handed it to her, and said, I want you to go get me some money.
Stephen taught her how to use the gun and said, don't ever let anyone take the gun from you because they'll take it and use it on you. She was just very, very afraid, and she just wanted to bring something back to him so that she wouldn't get beat up again.
Later that night, Shakira contacts the easiest target she can think of: a local street pharmacist named Johnny Jackson.
He was a drug dealer, and so she assumed he would have money on him.
Shakira tells Johnny she's looking to score some drugs, and he agrees to pick her up in a nearby neighborhood.
Johnny had gotten a ride from a woman named Alicia, who had brought her 4-year-old son, who was sitting in the back in a car seat.
Shakira climbs into the car.
Shakira goes forward with the plan, even though there's a young child in the back of the car. This really shows how committed that she is to Stephen. For a lot of other people, this would have been a game changer. But for Shakira, she knew that she had to do this in order to hold on to the love of this man.
They went to another house for the drug transaction, and then they got on the freeway and headed out. There was music on, which was very loud. And both Alicia and Johnny were singing.
Clutching the gun in her purse, Shakira knows it's either now or never. She pulls out the gun and tells Alicia to stop the car.
And said, "Give me your money." And Johnny said, "What?"
Shut up, Johnny. Just give me your money. I know you got cash on you.
But Johnny's not about to let a 17-year-old get the jump on him.
He went to reach for the gun.
That's when it clicked in her mind what Stephen was teaching her. Don't ever let someone take the gun from you because they'll take it and use it on you. She was afraid.
It was a very surreal thing for her. She closed her eyes. The next thing you know, the gun was going off.
When she opened her eyes, she saw blood.
She saw Johnny slumped over.
Johnny is dead. His friend Alicia has been shot in the arm, but Alicia's 4-year-old son makes it through the blasts unharmed.
Shakira was shocked because she didn't mean to kill anyone.
Shakira told Alicia to take her son and go, and they did.
Shakira fights her instinct to run. She knows she can't leave without getting what Stephen wants.
Shakira then went through his pockets, taking $50 and his cell phone.
She was obviously bloody, very scared, very panicky, crying, hysterical.
Shakira thought she was going to get more than $50 from him. She was concerned because everything went bad.
Shakira must have felt awful, if not downright foolish, because she ended up killing this man for just a few dollars.
A panicked Shakira knows she has to get as far away from the tragic scene as she can.
She ended up hitchhiking and getting dropped off at a gas station by Stephen's home. And she ran to the home from there and told Stephen what happened.
There was a big argument between the two.
He said, "The only thing I wanted you to do was just rob somebody and bring me some money."
He was thinking he's going to get me, he's going to abuse me, he's going to hit me.
But there's no time for Stephen to lash out. When Shakira tells him that she let Alicia and her young son go, Stephen knows it's only a matter of time before police track Shakira down. And he doesn't want to be anywhere near Wilmington when they do. So Stephen jumps into action.
He had her take her clothes because they had blood on them and put them in a bag and poured bleach on it, and then drove to New Jersey, and they burned her clothes.
Shakira might have felt that Stephen was helping hide the evidence because he still loved her on some level, but the reality may simply be that he provided the murder weapon and was simply covering his own tracks.
Next, Stephen and Shakira flee. 3 hours later, the emotionally exhausted couple arrive at the home of a friend of Stephen's in New Jersey, where they fall asleep. But when Shakira wakes up in the morning, Stephen is gone.
It was a pure shock for her. And I think part of that was the fear of, how am I going to deal with this situation without him? He's always told me what to do. How am I going to get through this?
And there's only one person Shakira can truly trust. Her mom, who she hasn't spoken to in 6 months.
When I got a phone call about 1 in the morning, obviously I was happy to hear from her. And she said, "Well, Mom, I'm going to come home." And I said, "Well, good. Well, come on home."
Shakira hitchhikes from New Jersey back to her mom's house in Wilmington.
She was very frail, eyes sunken in, and just very, very tiny. I gave her a hug, and she said, "Mom, I'm just tired." And then she laid down in her room and went to sleep.
5 hours later, Deneen is awakened by the sound of police pounding on the door.
The detective asked me, was my daughter home? And at that point is when I went to look for her. I didn't see her at all in the home. I didn't know where Shakira was at that point. I didn't know.
Shakira may be missing, but her secret is about to see the cold light of day.
When I found out everything that happened, and I almost passed out.
17-year-old Shakira Wanham lands on her mother's doorstep after committing a robbery for her man, Stephen Martin, that ends in murder. 5 hours later, police come looking for Shakira.
I go open the door, and it's the police, and I'm shocked. They said, "Is your daughter Shakira at home?" And I said, "She was here, yes." Shakira! When I went to look for her, I didn't see my daughter.
Deneen demands to know what police want with Shakira. When she is told her daughter is wanted for murder, Deneen is floored.
Check the premise.
This tore my heart. This ripped my heart out. That's my firstborn.
Armed with a search warrant, the officers hunt through every room, but find no sign of Shakira. Eventually, they find her huddled in an attic corner.
Well, one officer said, "Here she is." They lifted her up and handcuffed her.
Police haul Shakira away for questioning, where she gives up everything to police, including the man who put her up to it.
She said Stephen asked Shakira to rob for him after giving her some drugs. If she didn't do what he wanted her to do, he would beat her again.
And they went to his home and found ammunition. And that's when they found him and arrested him.
Stephen admits to giving Shakira a gun, but vehemently denies having anything to do with the murder. He is arrested and convicted of a weapons-related violation, but faces no charges in the murder of Johnny Jackson. Stephen is sentenced and serves only 2 years in prison.
This was something that was an emotional assault to her because, after all, she was just following his commands and trying to help him get money so that he can do drugs. Shakira committed this murder in order to please Stephen.
At the end of the day, it was Shakira's fault that Johnny Jackson lost his life. And Shakira knows that.
A little over a year later, Shakira faces a jury for her crimes, and she tells them that she's remorseful for her actions.
During trial, Shakira stated that she wished she could change places with Johnny. She feels very, very bad about what happened.
She expressed sorrow for the family and the people she'd hurt.
Shakira is convicted of 1 count of murder in the first degree and receives life in prison plus 17 years. On appeal, Shakira's lawyers argue against her conviction, citing her traumatic upbringing and age as mitigating factors. She is resentenced to 21 years.
She fortunately will have a life when she gets out of jail because she was so young. So she'll be able to make her way back into society.
Today, Shakira has changed from the naive teen who killed in the name of love to a mature woman with a message.
The main thing that Shakira wants now is for people